Hello, everybody. It's Phil Jacobus. It's the 14th of October. I'm here at my home in Woodstock, New York. And today I'm going to share with you an interview with Dr. Ron Chiarello, who has developed a 30-minute COVID test that is in the final stages of approval by the FDA. Extremely interesting and extremely timely. But before we go to Dr. Ron, let's take a look at some of the stories that occurred in our news today, Here's a story about how there are remnants of COVID-19 found in internal CT components. Boy, for service engineers or our hospital employees, that has to be a real problem. Here's another story, a study that challenges the idea that younger people are not susceptible to COVID-19. It's worthwhile reading given some of the things that are in the news today. And fortunately, here's a bipartisan bill that hopes to stop CMS from slashing imaging reimbursements, especially right now. So these are three interesting stories that are in our news today. I encourage you to sign up for our online news. It's free. I know that you'll learn and be more knowledgeable. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me. Today is going to be a very exciting interview. I'm here with Dr. Ron Chiarello, who is a PhD in physics and also the CEO and founder of Alveo Technologies. And Dr. Chiarello, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you, Phil, for having me. It's a pleasure.
You know, could not be a more timely discussion because Ron Chiarello's company has developed a at-home test for COVID-19. And I think you told me you're in the final stages of authorization for that. Is that correct, Doctor?
Yeah, correct. We're in emergency use authorization and clinical trial, and we're in the final stage of that, yeah.
When do you think your test will be, or who knows, but under normal circumstances, any idea how soon a test like this would be available to the general public?
To certain segments of the public as soon as next month, and to the general public early next year.
So show us, I know that you have the product there, and please take a minute and show us the product, this testing method, please.
Okay, great, thank you. So it's called Be Well, and again, this is the package that you would see it come in. And as you know, we originally developed the product for an at-home flu test and respiratory syncytial virus, and we adapted it for COVID-19. So inside the box are three components. There's an analyzer, which is reusable, handheld, battery operated. You can see about the size of an iPhone 10. There's a swab for getting nasal sample, and this is what that swab looks like. And then there's a disposable cartridge, okay, which actually runs the test. So the workflow is quite simple. Take a nasal sample yourself or perhaps a loved one, place that sample into the cartridge, remove it, close the lid, place the cartridge into the analyzer, okay? Then the analyzer talks to an application program running on a mobile device. So the way this works is, this is a molecular level test that's being run in this, again, handheld battery operated analyzer. And while the test is running, the user has the opportunity to upload clinical symptoms, runny nose, sore throat, fever, and so forth. Then all of that information goes to a secure cloud server in a HIPAA compliant manner, so the individual's security, personal information integrity is maintained. And then that information, all of it, can then go to a telehealth, telemedicine ecosystem where a clinician can then make a recommendation on treatment if you're positive for COVID-19 or for flu or respiratory syncytial virus, then those recommendations go back to the user.
How quickly does the patient or the user get the feedback?
within 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's really
So,
amazing.
yeah, yeah, thank you.
So it means that they don't have to close schools as often, or it's just generally a good thing. So congratulations on devising this. I know that you originally devised this for other reasons, but you pivoted when you saw the need, and so that makes you a patriot. So good work.
Thank you.
Um, Tell me, what role do you think testing at home can play in stopping the spread of COVID-19? I know it's in a way common sense, but could you summarize that for us?
Yeah, I mean, actually, it's one of the foundations for controlling and managing epidemics and pandemics is bringing testing closer to individuals, closer to consumers. Just, sort of an aside, we live in an age of science and technology, and we have technology everywhere, but what we don't have everywhere is medical technology. In our homes, we have, microwave ovens and so forth. My car has over 200 sensors, but in my bathroom, I don't have much. I have a scale, a thermometer. There's not much in the way that I could measure my health. And that's really what we're trying to do at Alveo, and there's other companies trying to do this too. So the idea of having do-it-yourself, high-performing, low-cost tests at home enable empowerment for individuals. So not only are you diagnosing your disease, but you're also sort of feeling better about yourself and better about your family, knowing if you have, let's say COVID-19, if you have it or if you don't have it. The other thing it does is now individuals now have the option to share that information with regulatory bodies and government agencies like the CDC, for example. And this will enable surveillance and tracking at a level that we haven't seen before. Okay, so that's really great, but the practicality of that is that we can now supply healthcare equipment, therapeutics, vaccines to areas where we see hotspots pop up. We can enact self-quarantine, social distancing in areas where we see hotspots, pluming, and not do it in other areas. So the granularity of the data and the ability to attack, if you will, the disease and keep it under control and better management is a tremendous benefit to from at-home testing.
Um, Tell me, there are lots of companies developing tests. Are there some that you think are better than others? What are the pros and cons of the different tests?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the way to think about it is two general categories, which have been in the media. PCR tests, which are typically lab-based or clinic-based, and then antigen tests, which are lower cost and faster time to result, and maybe be able, to be used more widespread in the community. The issue is PCR tests are great, but perhaps their sensitivity is overkill based on the cost and the time it takes to get results. It could be 1 to 9 days before you get a lab-based PCR result. Antigen tests offer speed and low cost, but don't have the sensitivity typically that PCR tests have. So what we really want to do, and what we're doing with Be Well and other companies are as well, we're trying to hit that sweet spot of having high enough performance, but also low enough cost and ease of use to make testing accessible to the most people. So I don't think we're quite there yet on the market, where really what's offered is either antigen or PCR. But when products like Be Well and others are available, I think we will hit the sweet spot in what we need for testing.
I see. Tell me, for tracing, I can see how this would help with tracing, but is there a HIPAA challenge there?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a HIPAA challenge. There's also a cybersecurity challenge. We also have a anti-counterfeiting challenge with our disposable cartridge. So all of these securities need to be taken into consideration, and we certainly do that. I can tell you from personal experience, direct conversations with the FDA, that these components, cybersecurity, anti-counterfeiting, are very high priority for FDA, and they do look at that when they are evaluating products. So all of us that are, pursuing these opportunities and these public health benefits are taking that into consideration.
So you think there's a risk that somebody would make one of your cartridges or make a knockoff your cartridge that would not be as effective or do the job?
Or it could even be harmful to the general public. I mean, this is common knowledge in therapeutic manufacturing that you need security around that. And now with big data in healthcare becoming more and more prominent and more impactful, providing that cyber security to users and institutions is very important.
Do you have a view as to whether we have in our country the means to test our population? Do we have enough tests? Like, could even your company alone probably could not produce enough tests for all the people in the country? That's why you're going to focus on hotspots, I take it.
Yeah, so I asked an executive at one of the large clinical lab testing companies, what's your forecast for testing? And he said, a gazillion tests forever. So basically what's happened in the pandemic is the seal has been broken on the need for do-it-yourself at-home testing. And it's recognized in the community that's what's needed. Certainly, as a new company, we do not have the manufacturing capacity to meet the demand for testing in the US market. I'll just give you an example of the numbers pre-COVID. Each season, about a 4-month period, we would have 1 billion cases in the US population of flu-like symptoms. That means each one of us, 350 million people, would have about 2 to 3 cases of the common cold or something like the flu. So if everybody measured themselves every time they had symptoms, that's 1 billion tests a year just in the US, right? So that gives you some idea of one infectious disease event that what it would consume in terms of at-home testing. So the challenge of making enough tests and the opportunity to do so is both exciting and certainly a big challenge.
Yeah, I suppose at-home testing will probably reduce the spread, won't it?
Absolutely. I think, and again, I think the control, reducing the spread is hugely important. There are other factors that around COVID-19 that have come to light that are not, talked about so much in the media, but stress, anxiety and depression, suicide rates are up in extended living facilities and in other parts, demographics of our communities. So the domino effects of at-home testing and more testing, more knowledge about your health would be huge, not just for controlling the spread of COVID-19, but also these other impacts. There are a group of people who have long-term health impacts after they've recovered from the disease from COVID-19, loss of mental acuity and so forth. These individuals are called long haulers. So the impact of knowing early what you have and taking action against it, against getting sicker, if you will, against infecting other people, has a huge societal benefit, not just in controlling the disease, but also the impact of what the disease does, ancillary impacts.
Right. Have you priced this product yet? Do you know what the cost, what it's going to cost? Is that an okay question for me to ask, or have you not?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. We're targeting in high volumes to bring the test to around $10 per test. So we want it to be, again, accessibility. If we talk about the 3 things that consumers care about, Philip: cost, accessibility, and speed to treatment. So the costs need to be lower for testing. An at-home pregnancy test is $10 to $15 in that range, and that's where we want to be, and that's where I think other tests are going to have to be.
And then your follow-up cartridges will cost something if and when a user wants one.
Yes, less than that, less than that. So we're thinking of this as sort of like the way you would buy razor blades, where you have a handle, and then you're going through razor blades as they wear out. So the analyzer is the handle, if you will, and you'd keep this.
Right.
And so that cost is considered in the overall per test cost. So the cartridges and swab refills will be a bit less than the overall cost, but you'll average out to around $10 per test.
Well, I'm proud of you. You're clearly a patriot, and you came up with this. I'm sure you made an investment of time and money in developing this product. Of course, for profit, but also because it's the right thing to do. So I take my hat off to you and congratulations, and put me down for one when you start to produce them.
Well, thank you, and that's the greatest compliment and recommendation I could have. So thank you very much.
Dr. Ron Chiarello, it's been a pleasure, a real pleasure speaking with you, and I'm really excited to share this with our readers. So thank you very much.